The message this morning is living careless lives. And that comes from the book of Judges chapter 18. And we're going to go 18, verse 1, verse 2, and verse 7. We're going to go through the whole book of Judges. And, through the whole book of Judges one day. But today we're just doing Judges 18 and maybe a little bit of chapter 17. If you're watching through social media, God bless you. Blessed be the name of the Lord. If you see this place is different today because it's raining. So we decided to do it under the shelter right here at the park. So this is what we have in church today, under the shelter here at the park. Judges 18, verse 1, 2, and 7, title of the message, Living Careless Life. In those days, there was no king. Does that sound familiar? In those days, there was no king in Israel. Verse number 2. And 5 men went out to spy the land and to search it. Verse 7. Then the 5 men departed and came to Lachish, a land, and saw the people that they were there, how they dwelt careless, living careless life, after the manner, copying the customs of the Sidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate. There was no magistrate. There was no law. There was not somebody that can enforce the law. There was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything. And they were far from Sidonians and had no business with any men. So the Bible right there says in verse number 1 that there was no king in Israel. Everybody was doing whatever they wanted. In those days, there was no king in Israel. In those days, the tribe of Dan, sought them the inheritance to dwell in there, and they were trying to conquer their inheritance. And the children of Dan sent 5 men to search and spy the land, and they went. So there was no king in those days in Israel. And of course, if there was no king, there was no magistrate, the Bible says right there. Nobody that can enforce the law of the land. Nobody that can say anything to anybody to say, that is wrong, that is illegal, what you're doing is wrong. You need to do it this way or that way. They have no king, and everybody was doing whatever they thought it was good for them. Kind of what we have today. People taking entire blocks in America and going around the streets, looting and riots and destroying, and it looks like there's no king. It looks like there's no law. Entire police departments have fled their areas where they're supposed to be patrolling, and they're out of there. They even burned down the police department, the police stations over there in Minneapolis. There is no king right now. So these kings of Israel, they will go to the priests, they will go to the prophets, and they will consult, they will take consultation, they will say, what does the Lord say about this? Can I go and make war against this tribe? Can I go and conquer this land? Can we build this? What does the Lord say? But in those days there was no king, so for that reason the king was not consulting with the prophets, was not consulting with the priests. There was no king. It was like a carnival. It was like a feast of sin and debauchery, and everything was good and everything was going because nobody can tell them, don't do that, don't do this. The people were doing whatever they wanted. They created their own gods. And if you read this book of 17 of Judges, you find a man there of the name Micah. Micah is the leader of this land where these 5 people went and spied. But Micah stole 100, 1,000, 1,100 pieces of silver from his own mother. Micah was the thief, and he stole from his own mother. And he comes and he brings the money back to his mother because his mother just cussed and curse whoever was the person that stole the money from him. And Micah came back. You can read all this on Judges 17. And Micah comes back and says, Mother, here's the money that you lost. I took it. I stole it from you. Her mother, in consideration to her son, in retribution to her son, say, oh, I have a good son. We're going to take 200 of these silver coins and we're going to make idols. We're going to make idols of silver, and we're going to make idols of wood. Okay? So that was Micah. Verse number 2. 5 men went out of the tribe of Dan to spy the land of Micah. as the land they were going to spy on the light of Micah. Verse number 3. Then they arrived to the house of Micah, and they found a priest living in the house of Micah. That right there is already a red flag. The Levites were not supposed to be on those places. They were supposed to be living in the temple. They were supposed to be taking care of the temple 24/7, 365 days a year. And they asked him, verse number 3, they asked him, what are you doing over here? And the Levite says this, another red flag. The Levite says this, Micah hired me for 10 pieces of silver a year. He said he was going to give me food. He said he was going to give me a shelter. You find all that on Judges 17. So Micah gave this Levite, and this Levite is very important for the story. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Judges 18. And this Levi said, okay, I'm going to live in the house of Micah. He's going to give me a salary. He's going to give me food. And he's going to give me shelter. The Levites were direct descendants of Moses and Aaron. They were supposed to be taking care of the things of God. And they will live of the offerings and the things that were brought into the house of the Lord, and the other tribes will take care of this. But as soon as Israel start looking into other gods, as soon as Israel start living their own way, they also forgot about the true priests and the true Levites. People told me before that in England and here in America, when somebody say, I was the pastor, or somebody wanted to be a pastor, that was a very good job. That was a very good title. That was a very good thing to do in this land. And the pastors were respected, and there were people of this land who people will respect and honor. But not anymore, because we have all these clowns from the pulpits, and we have all these liars from the pulpits, that people is afraid to go to the pastor or to go to the house of the Lord, because they think they're going to rob their money and they're going to lie to them. But these Levites, they were different. These Levites, God raised these Levites up to be the ones who will touch their sacred, their holy things of the temple, and to minister the Holocaust and the sacrifices unto Him. Verse number 5, and they asked this Levite, see, the 5 spies from the tribe of Dan. I hope you follow me on the story. If you don't, just let me know. These 5 spies from the tribe of Dan, they found this Levite in the house of Micah, and they said, what are you doing over here? Micah, the Levite revealed to them what Micah has done for him. So these 5 people from the tribe of Dan, they asked this Levite, say, is God going to bless our trip? Is God going to bless what we're doing? This Levite, without even consulting God, turned around, and he's one of those who's with itching ears. He said, yes, God is going to bless your trip. Go in peace. See, the Levites, before they consulting God, if you read Deuteronomy, Numbers, and Exodus, they will have to go through a process to go to the temple and burn incense and pray and fast before they receive a clarification for the Lord. But this Levite right here, right after they ask him on verse 5 and 6, and the priest says, verse 6, say unto them, go in peace before the Lord. Is your way there ye go? Go in peace without consulting to the Lord. These Levite priests tell them, go in peace. Kind of what today you got these churches full of people living in fornication, full of drunks playing instruments in the church, full of liars, full of idolaters, and the pastor comes and bless them and baptize them, and they say, yes, you're on your way to heaven. Same thing. Not much has changed. Verse number 7, this is where it gets better. Let's read it. Then the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people that were there, how there dwell careless, after the manner of Sidon. That word right there is the key for this preaching. Careless. After the manner of Sidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame. See, the magistrate will put people to shame and say, look, what you're doing is wrong. That's kind of what Romans 13 says, that the law, that the government and the authorities are there to put to shame those who are evil and to compensate those who are doing good. Is that what the American government is doing today? No. Marrying homosexuals and abortion? But anyway, there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything, and they were far from Sidonians and have no business with any man. The definition of the word careless The dictionary says, not giving enough attention to avoid harm, to avoid danger. Lack of attention. Example, careless driving. When you are a careless driver, guess what you're going to end up? You're going to end up in a ditch, or you're going to end up killing somebody or killing yourself. When you're driving, you have to be not tired. You have to be, your five senses, you have to be, all your attention has to be on the wheel and your mirrors and where you're going, where you're going to need to stop, because your life is right there on the wheel, or you could kill somebody else. Remember, there is also a law that talks about careless driving or reckless driving. When you drive like that, they take points away from your license, and they could take away your license. Like in some places, like Fairfax County, I believe that if you're going 25 miles above the limit, the speed limit, they just remove your license, and they call it reckless driving. So the Bible says that these people were living like that, careless, reckless, with luxurious. I mean, imagine, because this is the people who were agricultures, and they were secure. The Bible says right here, and quiet and secure. So they were just living la vida loca. They were just enjoying life, enjoying the sun, and they probably went to the beach, and they probably just have all they can drink and debauchery, and then just do whatever they want, because there was no king in the land. There's no king. Like these people in Seattle who took these blocks, they're doing whatever they want right now. There's no law. Who goes in there and tells them what you're doing is wrong? You got to do it like that. Nobody's doing it right now. Right? There's no king here on Israel, so they're doing whatever they want. They were probably been very fat. They were not eating. They were eating and doing nothing. So they were doing whatever they want. And the Bible says they would adopt the customs of the Sidonians. Who were these Sidonians? These Sidonians were a people who reject God, and were people who worship the sun. So these people who once knew the God of the Bible turn around and they adopt the customs of the Sidonians. They were idolaters. Let's read Daniel 5, verse chapter 4. You don't have to go there. I'm going to read it for you. Daniel 5, verse 4. To see how, when these people, how do they celebrate their idols? Daniel 5, verse 4. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver and brass, of iron, of wood, and stone. See, these Sidonians, the Bible said they were careless, they were secure. And I mean, these people were after the custom of the Sidonians. Every time they had a festivity for their idol of their god of the celebration, they were drinking wine. Of course, they were getting drunk, because what happens when you drink too much wine? You get drunk. Remember what happened to Noah, what he drank, what happened to him. You know, and all these things that happen today when people get drunk. They lose families, they lose jobs, they lose their freedom, they lose everything. Kind of like Catholics when they do all these celebrations, or some Christians during Christmas where they get drunk. They don't drink the whole entire year, but on Christmas they have to say cheers with everybody that's at the table. New Year's comes around and they have to worship that dropping bowl or dropping lemon, and they have to raise that little cup full of, what is it called? That drink? Anyway, but it's an alcoholic drink.
Eggnog?
No, that's not eggnog. That other one. Champagne.
Oh.
People like to celebrate with champagne during New Year's Eve. And there is Christians who don't drink the whole entire year, but when it comes New Year, they have to celebrate and say cheers with everybody.
Oh.
And these people were like that. There were a time there was a celebration. They were celebrating everything that they could celebrate. So, how are we living careless lives today? You say, Edgar, how does this relate to us 2020? There is Christians who are living careless lives today. And you say, how? No praying. If you're not praying, you're living a careless Christian life. If you're not reading the Bible, you're living a reckless life. Because before you get in your car and drive, you have to read you have to pass the test. You have to know the laws of the land, how to drive, where the speed limits are, and how to use your car. You say, how else can I be a reckless and careless Christian? You don't preach. You don't share the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. How many Christians fast today? People's not fasting these days. People's not fasting these days. Reckless lives. People are also not being good stewards of the money that God gave them. They're buying things left and right for their relatives. They're buying things left and right for their friends and things that they don't need, and they don't have money. Reckless, like the Bible says, we got to be good stewards of the money that God gave us. Spending the money on things that don't need. 1 Peter 2:9 says this, chosen generation, you're a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. We are called to be peculiar people. The definition of peculiar is strange, unusual, special, uncommon, eccentric. That's how we gotta be. We gotta be different in the way we dress, in the way we speak, in the way we conduct ourselves in public, in our houses, with others, the way we wear, ethic, But today, Christians don't want to be peculiar people. Christians don't want to dress like Mary and Elizabeth in the Bible. Christians want to dress more like Jennifer Lopez and Lady Gaga, and their makeup the same way as they see on Jennifer on Hollywood, and their hairs and the celebrations you're going to watch 4th of July. It's coming. How many Christians are going to go around spending all this money celebrating a wicked nation? Kind of like this nation right here, that they were after the custom of the Sidonians, and they would raise up idols of gold and silver and brass and wood. Watch this. Everything is canceled right now because of the pandemic. And I'm not a prophet, I'm not prophesying this. But this is my suspicious of what's going to happen in America. All right? Everything is canceled. All the sports so far is canceled. All the events are canceled in the name of good health. But there is one idol that Americans cannot live without this idol. Anyone know what is that? Football. Football season is going to start in America in September because in January and February they have to celebrate their Super Bowl someday. You watch. They might even start the football season without spectators in the stadium, but that doesn't matter because they're still making revenue and money through the commercials and through the people who are going to watch through TV. Football, the pandemic is not going to stop football. Didn't you watch it this year? How they moved the day of the Super Bowl in February to do it early, right before all the pandemic and all the lockdowns started. How conveniently. Because it's their God. And many Christians are there too. I'm so glad that these pastors from this area, these Christians from this area, they're not in Morgantown at the stadium watching the football over there. I'm so glad. But it's going to start, the professional season from the NFL is going to start in America. That is one idol that America is not going to give up. It's not going to give up. The biggest pedophilia, the biggest sexual, what happens on the Super Bowl? Trafficking. You think that's going to stop? They're not going to stop that. They're not going to stop that. So there was no king. There was no priest. There was no priest. If there was no king, there was no need of a priest too. And the ones who were there, like this young Levite, his name was Jonathan. Anybody knows who he is? His name was Jonathan. He was corrupt. He corrupted himself for 10 pieces of silver, for a little bread, a little taco, and a small shelter. Elisha told his servant, what's the name of his servant? Elijah told his servant when he healed the general who was full of leprosy, and the general came with all these gifts of gold and silver and nice suits, and Elisha said, no, I'm not going to take any of that. Then Jesse, the name of his servant was Jesse. Jesse runs back before the general and he lied to him and said, hey, my master sent me over here and he changed his mind. Can you give us some of that silver, some of that gold, some of those nice suits that you have? So they give him back to him, and he comes back to Elisha, and Elisha said, Jesse, where have you been? Nowhere, master. Jesse, where have you been? Is this the time to take gold and silver? He tells Jesse. Jesse, is this the time to take gold and silver in exchange for the blessings of God, in exchange for the preaching? Are we going to preach to itching ears now? Somebody told me months ago, he said, Edgar, did you call so-and-so before you preached that message? Because it looked like you insulted him. I said, look, I have to talk to God before I preach. And look, when I preach, I don't preach to make friends. Do you preach to make friends? If you go out into the streets or you go to these pulpits and you're preaching to make friends, you're doing the wrong thing. It's best if you set up a thing at the flea market and start selling vegetables or something like that. When I preach, I don't expect to make friends. So this is not the time to take gold and silver. Verse 11. And there were from the family of Dan 600 men. 600 men went over there to conquer the land. And on verse 14, this is what they say. Don't you know that there in these houses, there's an ephod. The ephod was the priesthood garments. Just with gold and silver and stones. They were very, very nice. Don't you know that in these houses there's an ephod? A teraphim is like a little idol, like a little image. A graven image and a molten edge. Now therefore consider what you're going to do. Think about what you're going to do. They're telling these 600 men that conquer the land. He said, look, you're going to go to the house of Micah, and in the house of Micah there's an ephod, and there's some idols of gold and silver. Be careful what you're going to do with them, they tell them. So they go in there and they burn the city down to ashes because they conquer the city, but there is one thing they kept again, just like they did with Jericho, one man. Verse 17. And they took the grave image and the ephod and the teraphim and the molded image and the priesthood. And this went into Micah, verse 18, Micah's house, and took the carved image, the ephod and the teraphim and the molten image. So they go into the house of Micah, the thief. Remember how these images were built. Everything goes back to Judges 17. He stole the money. He brings it back to her mother. Her mother dedicated 200 pieces of silver to set up, to create these idols. And this is the idols that now they're taken. The idols that don't represent God, because the Bible says, do not make yourself any image of whatever is on heavens or whatever is on earth. Right? So they create this image, their gods. Micah's mother even tells Micah, I said, let's make ourselves some gods with this money. Have you not seen the power of God delivering you from the Egyptians, and now you gone with 2 pieces of silver, you make yourself gods? One God, the true God, was not enough for these women, that she needed to have more than one God. Kind of like this Catholic, they light up a candle for Virgin Mary, they light up a candle for San this and San that, and they have all these candles for each saint, each God. Witchcraft, rebellion, they were in rebellion, so these people were a bunch of witches. So we have right there verse 18, they come and they take the images and they talk to the Levite too, because the Levite is living in the house of Micah, remember? And he said, then they say to the priest unto them, what's with you, Levite? We're taking these idols, we're taking your ephod, because the ephod, the Levite was supposed to dress like that to perform the services unto the Lord. And he's wearing that ephod to perform services unto false gods. God is the one who told Moses over there in Exodus chapter 35 how to make the ephod, what kind of gold and silver and emerald and which colors to put in this ephod. That was his ephod for his service. And his Levite is using this garment for the service of false gods. There's a lot here. Verse 19, this is what the 5 spies that taken these idols tell this Levite. They say unto him, hold thy peace. Put your hand on your mouth. They're telling the Levite, the priest, shut up. Shut your mouth. Shut your peace. You're nothing. They don't have any respect for this praise. He sold himself for these 10 pieces of silver. Yeah. He's using the holy garments to praise and worship idols of gold and silver and wood. Of course they have no respect for him, and of course there's no king. Who was going to punish these men? But you know what? If that Levite would have the authority and would be doing the right thing in the sight of the Lord, that Levite would be respected.
that Levi should have said right there, you know what, destroy these idols. This is wrong. I have done wrong. I have corrupted myself. I have sold myself for 10 pieces of silver and a little bit of food. And now we got to destroy these idols and serve the God of the Bible. He didn't do that. He was worried that they were taking these idols, that he performed the service for Micah because he was the personal priest of Micah. The name of Levi was Jonathan. They told him, shut up, hold thy peace. Put your hand in your mouth. And they make a better offer unto this Levi. Don't you love those preachers? They go wherever the grass is green. There was one that came into this area saying that the only reason why he was coming to preach over here is because he was going to be living closer to his relatives in North Carolina. Not because the Lord called him to this area. Not because the Lord told him, go to the land of West Virginia and preach my word. No, his motives were, his motivation to be here was another motivation. Same thing with this Levi. Verse 19. Come with us and be the father and the priest of a tribe. They say, come with us. It's better to be the father. It's better to be the father and the priest of a tribe than being the father and the priest of just one household of the house of Micah. And the Levite takes the offer in verse 20, and the priest heard heart was glad and took the ephod, and he look what the Bible says. They make the offer to this Levite, and the Levite accepts the offer. And the Bible says this, verse 20. And the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, the holy garments, and the teraphim, the false idols, and the graven image, and went with them. He is the one who takes the false gods, and he comes out of the house of Micah with the holy garments that God provides, carrying these idols, and he goes with them because now they give him a bigger church, a bigger salary. He thinks on his mind, if Micah is giving me 10 pieces of silver a year, if I go to a whole tribe, how much money I'm going to make? I'm going to bring these idols with me. Not much has changed since that happened. How much money these pastors make, and when they offer a better salary, they go. And they're part of this conference, this denomination, and the denomination, they tell them what to preach, what to say, when to shut down the church. Yeah. So this Levi, they told him, shut up. Put your hand in your mouth and be quiet. And he takes the offer. And you say, well, then what happened? Verse 30. They go, they conquer the land, they live in the land. Verse 30. And the children of Dan, remember Dan is the tribe that comes and conquers and steals the priests. They not only steal the false idols, they also steal the priests. And the children of Dan set up a graven image. I remember I'm talking about stealing priests. There was a split on the church over there in Lynchburg, Virginia. And when the co-pastor left, he took with him 100 people out of the church, and he started his own church. Not because God told him to start a church, but because his desire was to continue being the leader and the pastor, and he took 100 people with him, and he started a church. Kind of like this Levite, he took his idols, and he said, these are going to be my 10 pieces of silver a year. Sad. Now people start churches, people start being the pastor of churches, and they're not even called by God. They split from another church, and they go their way, and they start their own congregations. Verse 30. And the children of Dan set up a great image, and Jonathan. Anybody know who this Jonathan is? Maybe on Facebook? And let's keep reading. And Jonathan, remember, Jonathan is the name of this Levi who sold himself for, I'm repeating myself because it's incredible. When I read this story, and I read the book of Judges before, but this week I stopped on Judges 18. Jonathan sold himself for 10 pieces of silver, used the holy garments to worship false gods, and now they make him a different offer. Look, now you can be the priest of a whole tribe. So he goes with them, and this is what he does. And the children of Dan set up the great image, and Jonathan, they go and set up the great images, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom and the son of Moses, and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. Jonathan was the grandson of Moses. Out of all Levites, don't you think that Jonathan, being the grandson of Moses, knew better? You know, there was all kinds of Levites, all kinds of descendants of Aaron and Moses, but this one is a direct connection to Moses, and yet he sold himself for 10 pieces of silver. He probably was familiar with the story of the golden calf and what Moses did to them, how he burned that idol and he gave them to them to drink for his disobedience. And yet he's the one who carried the false gods out of the land and set them up and continued with the false idolatry. Jonathan, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with all these pastors today too? Idolizing flags, idolizing countries, idolizing fornicator mothers, idolizing themselves on pastor dedication day, what is called Pastor Appreciation Day. What is wrong with these people that don't read the Bible? Like there's no king in these churches. Jonathan, the son of Moses. People is upset right now because some groups of people are destroying the statues of Abraham Lincoln and I don't know which statues are destroyed. It doesn't bother me. I'm actually glad they're destroying the statues. The money's all that garbage because they're false idols made out of brass and gold and wood and set up 10 commandments. Huh? All these Christians on Facebook, oh no, they're destroying the monument of Abraham Lincoln. Oh no, now they're going to destroy the monument of so-and-so. Let them destroy those idols. Set up 10 commandments. Don't set up crosses. Don't set up false images of what the Lord Jesus Christ looked like. Set up the 10 commandments.
Amen.
Hey, that's what these people did. They set up their idols up high to continue their worship. And you say, well, only did it for a little bit, no? Verse 31. And they set them up, these grave images, which they made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh, until the time of captivity. There was many years they were worshiping these idols under the commandment of Jonathan, the grandson of Moses. Deceived with the blessing of a Levite. Just because he dressed right, just because he knows the Bible, and he tells you that you living in fornication is good, or you're wrong and you're still going to heaven, that's not right. That's not right. And that's what this Levite did. He told them it was okay to worship these idols. And they did it for a long time. So my question this morning is, are you living careless life? Do you have idols in your life? Is there a king in your life? There was no king in the land of Israel. I hope your king is King Jesus.
Amen.
And not Trump 2020. I hope that you in your house, you say, my king is Jesus Christ. And I do have a king. I am going to submit to his commandment and his ordinance. Because when there's no king, people live any way they want to live. And if the grandson of Moses corrupt himself, what do you think us? Do you think we can corrupt ourselves? Yeah. That the elect descendant of Moses who heard the preaching, he probably Father Moses, Grandfather Moses preached, I don't know. But he was so close to them, and he corrupt himself. Nevertheless, one of us who don't pray, don't fast, don't read the Bible, of course you're going to corrupt yourself. Of course. If this Levi knew the Torah, this Levi knew the prophecies, this Levi was in contact with God at one point, sacrificing things, he was the only one who allowed him to the temple, and he corrupted himself. Now us, not fasting, not praying, not reading the Bible, of course you're going to corrupt yourself. Of course you're going to start living a careless life. And it's easy to live a careless life right now because everything is so convenient. You don't even have to go pick up your groceries no more. Yeah. You make a phone call, or you do it from your phone, you drive to the store, they bring them up. You don't even have to pay the lady because you pay online. You want food? Just make a phone call to the restaurant, they bring it to you. You want medicines? They bring them to you. What else? What else is available to you? At the bank, you don't even have to go and put your check on the bank. You just take a picture, send it to them, and you manage in your account. The Bible says these people were quiet and secure. And that's what this pandemic has brought to a lot of Christians. They're quiet and they're secure in their houses. They're not preaching no more. They're not going out. Before you put a track on people's cars or you give a track to people, now you're so afraid. Somebody coughs, you want to jump 6 feet away from them. Are you coughing? Are you okay? Oh, are you okay? Start asking. People cough. People sneeze all the time. Not because there's COVID-19. Now, if you see somebody coughing or this, they have COVID-19. Quiet and secure, and that's what we have today in America. A group of Christians, quiet and secure. The government told them don't meet, they went quiet and secure. People spending their money on things that they don't need. It's coming. It's coming to the land. A famine is coming to the land. Right? And if we don't pray, we don't fast, we don't seek the Lord, Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge, and that's why these people perish. Because this Levite was not feeding them the right word of God. And they themselves, nobody stood up and said, hey, you're doing it wrong. That's not what Moses does. That's not what your grandfather. Can you imagine somebody rebuke this Levite and say, look, that's not what your grandfather Moses teach us. But instead he told this Levite, shut up, put your hand in your mouth and shut up. We're not giving you money, shut up. How many preachers do we have like that?
Yeah.
For the love of dollar, they don't raise their voice. Remember, dumb dogs.
Yeah.
They don't bark. Oh no, I'm not gonna say my piece over there at the Mercer County School Board because what was he saying? I cannot speak in public. What are you doing in front of the pulpit? What are you doing in front of the pulpit? Shut up! Put your hand in your mouth and shut up. And like them, how many more do we have in America? And all this evil, you see evil everywhere. Because nobody's saying anything. All these priests. And you say, well, the Bible don't say the word Moses right there, because if you notice, if you read with me, it says Manasseh. The reason for that is because the other relatives of Moses were so upset with this Levite. They didn't want this Levite to have any relationship with Moses. It was a disgrace for them. But it cannot change the word of God. But the translations, the Israelites, trying to change the name of Moses in this particular verse to Manasseh because they were ashamed that Moses' grandson corrupted himself and brought so much corruption to the land for the love of money and food. Because that's what Micah offered him. He said, I'm going to give you 10 pieces of silver, I'm going to give you shelter, and I'm going to give you food. And that is the offer on the table right now. The government is giving unemployment money. It's giving food banks. We have more food banks than ever. People is quiet and secure in their houses. And the Bible says when they say peace, peace, suddenly destruction shall come their way.
People is not preparing themselves. The government is going to run out of money. All these food banks, they're going to run out of food banks, the food. And you are quiet and secure. Quiet and secure. What do I do, Edgar? Seek the Lord. Seek the Lord. The Lord will tell you what to do. We don't know what we're doing with our garden, we're learning. We don't know what we're doing with our chickens, we're learning. You know? But if it comes to that point, then well, at least we're going to have something. But if you are just quiet and secure, you know, and I understand there's some cases that people is sick and they depend on all this stuff. And sadly, churches and other places are not taking care of these widows and orphans. And they have to depend on the government. But for those who are healthy like these people, they were young and strong. And instead of working, they were just quiet and secure. And it was easier to worship the graven image versus worship the God of the Bible. Because when you worship the God of the Bible, you have to submit yourself to a higher power. Jesus Christ told them, he said, why you call me Lord? And you don't keep my commandments.
Right.
It's easy to bow down to a great image and light up a candle because there's no requirement. It's not going to talk back to you. It's not going to say nothing to you. It's easy to buy a priest, huh? To marry you again, to baptize you when you're living in sin. It's easy. You can corrupt the God of the Bible. You can. So even this Levite, Moses' direct descendant, corrupted himself. If we're not fasting enough, if we're not praying enough, and we're not reading this Bible enough, guess what will happen? End up like this Levite. So that was the message. Judges 17 and Judges 18, people living quiet and secure and careless lives. Careless lives, lazy. And look at around, like I told you, look around today. Groceries, don't need to do anything. Food, don't need to cook, don't need to do anything. Don't even have to go to the bank. Some people now working from their houses. A lot of people change from going to work to change to work from home. Kids are not in school. They're not as active as they were when they're in school. There's no school trips. There's no other activities. Everything canceled. Quiet and secure. Just like these people were. And they were not preparing themselves for the danger that was coming. I hope that you that read the Bible, I hope that you that call yourself Bible believer, you are not quiet and secure. I have a problem with myself. Every weeks go by and I have no place to go to the streets and preach. I need to be out on the street more. And I pick up that corner where everybody goes to Sam's and Walmart. At least, we gotta at least do that. It's not wait for the event. It's not wait for the event. And of course we continue preaching here in this park every Sunday. But with quiet and secure. Bible also says in Corinthians, if you think that you stand there, be careful if you think that you stand in firm, be careful if you don't fall. And that's what these people, that's what happened to them. They thought they were firm. And when the spies came and conquered the land, they burned everything down to ashes. They didn't saw it coming, they could not fight, they could do nothing because all their faith and trust was on a piece of wood and a piece of silver. But if this Levite would have done his job and say, fear God and keep his commandments, guess who would have fight his battle? The God of the Bible. But they were not honoring the God of the Bible. They put the trust in these great images. Father God, we come before